On March 18, 2017, at Ashford, Maine, a cold wind swept through the quiet streets of Ashford as dusk settled in. Most residents were winding down for the evening, unaware of the flashing police lights gathering outside a small, picturesque house on Oak Street. This was the home of Daniel and Emily Carter, a well-liked couple known for their warm hospitality. But tonight, their home became the scene of a blood crime. A neighbor, Susan Miller, noticed something unusual. Emily's car was still parked outside, but the house remained dark. Concerned, she knocked on the door. No response. When she gently pushed it open, a wave of dread washed over her. Inside, the living room was in disarray. Overturned furniture, shattered glass, and, at the center of it all, Emily Carter's lifeless body. Bruises and defensive wounds painted a grim picture. She had fought desperately against whoever had done this. Within minutes, Detective Ryan Monroe arrived. He'd seen violent crimes before, but something about this scene felt personal. The signs of struggle, the lack of forced entry, this wasn't random. As investigators combed through the evidence, the realization set in. Someone close to Emily had betrayed her, and in this quiet town, the truth wouldn't stay hidden for long. The investigation at the Carter home continued into the morning. Forensic experts combed through the scene, searching for any clue that could explain Emily Carter's brutal murder. Detective Ryan Monroe, determined to crack the case, wasted no time. Neighbors were questioned again. Susan Miller, who discovered Emily's body, recalled hearing a heated argument from the house days before. She mentioned that Emily's husband, Daniel, had been acting strangely, nervous, withdrawn, and avoiding eye contact with neighbors. Another neighbor reported hearing Daniel accuse Emily of keeping a secret. Then, a breakthrough. Forensic experts lifted fingerprints from a broken picture frame, prints that didn't belong to Emily or Daniel. The blood at the scene also revealed something shocking. Some of it wasn't Emily's. Daniel claimed he was away on business the night of the murder, but when detectives checked his alibi, there were inconsistencies. He was released for now, but under heavy surveillance. With tensions in Ashford rising, Detective Monroe knew one thing for sure. The truth was closing in, and whoever was responsible for Emily Carter's murder was running out of time. Detective Ryan Monroe turned his focus to Emily Carter's personal life, searching for clues beyond the crime scene. Hidden in a locked drawer, he found a stack of unsent letters filled with fear and uncertainty. In them, Emily described her growing distrust of her husband, Daniel, and her belief that he was hiding something dangerous. One letter stood out. Emily hinted at a secret one that, if revealed, could destroy her marriage and even put her life at risk. Detective Monroe knew this could be the key to unlocking the case. Meanwhile, Daniel's alibi continued to crumble. Security footage from the hotel where he claimed to be showed no sign of him that night. But the biggest revelation came from the forensics team. The blood at the scene wasn't just Emily's. It didn't match Daniel's either. Someone else had been in that house, a third person, a missing piece to a deadly puzzle. With every new discovery, the mystery deepened, and in the quiet town of Ashford, the truth was about to surface. The truth behind Emily Carter's murder was beginning to emerge. Detective Ryan Monroe and his team worked tirelessly, piecing together the fragments of her hidden life. Every new discovery raised more questions, but one thing was clear. The perfect image of the Carter family was a lie. A breakthrough came from Daniel Carter's phone records. Among routine messages, one conversation stood out. Cryptic exchanges with a number registered to a man named Mark Sullivan, a former colleague with a criminal past. Suspicious transactions and a history of fraud linked the two men, and Monroe knew he had to dig deeper. Then, the biggest revelation yet, fingerprints found at the crime scene didn't just belong to Emily or Daniel. They matched Mark Sullivan. Old records showed that years ago, Emily worked for the same company as Daniel and Mark. Whispers of financial fraud, threats, and a dark secret surrounded them. Had Emily discovered something she wasn't supposed to? With Mark now a prime suspect, Monroe had him brought in for questioning. But as the interrogation began, one question lingered. Was Mark the killer, or was someone else still out there, hiding in the shadows? The walls were closing in on Mark Sullivan. His alibi was weak. His phone records placed him near the Carter home on the night of Emily's murder, and his interrogation revealed a man cracking under pressure. Detective Ryan Monroe knew he was close, but one question remained. Was Mark acting alone, or was Daniel Carter involved too? As the investigation deepened, financial records from Daniel and Mark's former company revealed something shocking. Suspicious transactions, offshore accounts, and evidence of fraud that coincided with the time Emily left her job. Had she uncovered their scheme? And if so, had she paid the ultimate price for it? Then, a breakthrough. Surveillance footage showed Mark and Daniel meeting in secluded locations in the weeks leading up to the murder. When confronted, Mark slipped, mentioning details about the crime scene that only the killer would know. It was the mistake Monroe had been waiting waiting for. The truth was finally within reach. But was Mark the mastermind, or just another pawn in a deadly game? The case against Mark Sullivan and Daniel Carter was closing in. Forensic analysis confirmed that blood found at the crime scene belonged to Mark, placing him inside the Carter home the night of Emily's murder. Meanwhile, Daniel's alibi had crumbled, and his nervous behavior only fueled suspicion. Phone records told a damning story. Calls between Mark and Daniel on the night of the crime, despite their claims of no recent contact. Then, detectives made a shocking discovery. Hidden in Emily's bedroom wall were documents, evidence of fraudulent transactions linking Daniel and Mark to a financial scheme. Emily had uncovered their secret, and it may have cost her life. Detective Ryan Monroe knew the time had come to break them. Mark was already cracking, but Monroe needed a confession. In a high-stakes interrogation, he laid out the evidence: blood, fingerprints, phone calls, and the documents Emily had hidden. Mark's confidence shattered. He saw the truth staring back at him. There was no way out, and with that, the final piece of the puzzle fell into place. Justice for Emily Carter was finally within reach. Under relentless pressure, Mark Sullivan finally cracked. He admitted he was in the Carter home the night Emily was murdered, not to kill her, but to retrieve documents she had on him and Daniel. But things spiraled out of control, and Emily died. Mark claimed he was following Daniel's orders. Daniel had discovered that Emily planned to expose their crimes and decided she had to be silenced. Mark, fearing for his own future, went along with it. With Mark's confession secured, Detective Ryan Monroe turned to Daniel. Presented with the evidence and Mark's betrayal, Daniel panicked. He tried to shift the blame, insisting he had no idea what Mark intended to do. But Monroe wasn't buying it. The phone records, the hidden documents, and now Mark's confession all pointed to one truth: Daniel was the mastermind. With nowhere left to run, he finally admitted it. Emily Carter had died because she knew too much, but now justice had caught up with her killers. With the arrests of Daniel Carter and Mark Sullivan, the truth behind Emily Carter's murder was finally exposed. Greed, betrayal, and fear of exposure had led to the death of an innocent woman, but justice had prevailed. Daniel was sentenced to life in prison. Mark received 25 years for his role in the crime. The trial gripped the nation, a chilling reminder that even in the quietest towns, darkness can lurk beneath the surface. For the people of Ashford, healing would take time. Emily's memory lived on, honored by a local memorial and a charity in her name, dedicated to helping women in crisis. For Detective Ryan Monroe, this case was a victory, but it came at a cost. The truth had been uncovered, but nothing could bring Emily back. As Ashford moved forward, one lesson remained: evil can hide in plain sight, but justice will always find the light.